Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. This is Alicia Dianne. That's my name. And this is my channel, Alicia Dianne Art on YouTube. I'm so glad that you guys could join me. I'm also on Facebook Live right now, so you can also catch me on Facebook. And we're going to be continuing studying the Masters today. Hopefully I don't have my phone right now. Turn the ringer off. But we're going to be studying the Masters. We're going to continue in this series. I want to go at least up to 10. I think we'll do 10 in this series, and then we'll take a break from studying the Masters, and we'll do some other things on the channel, and then we will continue on doing another studying the Masters at a later time. But we are studying Mary Blair. She was I wish I had the statistics. I didn't even think of stuff like that until it's already time to shoot. But it would be a great thing to put the statistics of what time frame that she worked at Disney. I'm gonna say from probably about the 40s, somewhere in the mid 1940s up until about 1960 or so. So she did spend a significant amount of time there. But I'm going to go ahead and rotate my canvas. Let me see. Excuse me. But today is November 3rd. That means in the US, anyway, it is election day. I'm not going to spend any time on politics. Only I encourage you guys to go out and let your voice be heard and vote today, whichever way you choose is your own. That is your own prerogative. And I think the fates are already doing whatever it is that they need to do. So whatever will be at this point. But just go ahead and get your voice heard. I'm gonna start. I'm using this reference. Actually, it's from. Let me grab it. It's from like Ichabod and the Toad, I think the story's called. It was like a short. It's not an actual like feature film. It was a Disney short. Just want to show you guys the reference photo. I won't be keeping it up the whole time, but I like to just give you a little preview of what we're going to be doing today. There's some in here that I really, really love. Yeah, so this is the book that we're using. The Art and Flair of Mary Blair, and this is somewhere. This is the reference we're going to be using. So it's a little bit of Halloween actually. I know Halloween's already gone, but it's very fall-like. I like that. It's not so happy, joy type of thing. It's more of it's a little bit more spooky. Let me make my pencil a little bit lighter. Try and frame this composition somewhat like hers. Maybe even make it a little bit shorter. I wanted to talk about a couple of things today, but first, let's figure out this composition. That was one of the things that actually came up for me this week, is just figuring out the composition, because I'm transferring a sketch I did into a painting, and at first I really much prefer to use a projector if I have one available, or some type of way to transfer the sketch, because it is hard to get the same character out of a sketch once you've already done it and you really feel happy with it. It's really hard to get like the same quality of a sketch back into a painting, and I've made paintings that were based on sketches that I wasn't as happy with as I was the actual sketch, just because of that same reason. It's just I didn't get it just right. So I much prefer to use projector if I can. Actually, so I wouldn't want. So it's not considered cheating if you're using your own. If you're using your own sketch, that's my logic. If it's your own sketch and you did it, then it's not. Um, it's not cheating or it's not tracing. Tracing isn't cheating if it's yours. That's how I always see it. But I don't like to trace from anyone else's art but my own. Unless, of course, you're doing like a certain studies. But for this type of study, I wouldn't even want to trace just because I feel like the whole process of learning this whole thing is really doing it on our own here. So what was I even talking about? Trying to do compositions. And yeah, I was saying like this week I was doing a sketch. Well, the first time around I sketched it onto the canvas and it took me a while. It took me a long time. It took me like an hour to do the retrace. Actually to do the resketch because I didn't have a projector, and it was okay. I kind of liked it, but I ended up doing which is, I don't even know where my mind was at, but I put the primer. I primed the canvas after I did the sketch, and my brush was too wet, and I ended up just erasing the whole sketch. So I did an hour of sketching for absolutely no reason. Kind of frustrated me. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go get one of those art tracers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's like a low level projector. It's not like a high quality projector at all. It can only project like a small 4x4 image. But I heard about it at the place where I'm working now, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna give that thing a try. It's only like 30 bucks. So I went out and got one of those, and in Photoshop, it made it a lot easier. In Photoshop, I just made a 4x4 canvas and then just put my image right on there so that I could project it, and I did that, and that worked a whole lot better. But what I realized the second time around is that the composition was off, so I projected it, I didn't project it into I don't know, it just didn't project it. I didn't think about the composition, like the image was too low on the canvas, so I ended up having to do it a second time. But this is the point that I want to get to. I was debating whether or not to do another retrace because I already did it twice. I already did like a whole resketch, and I already did a projected trace. And I'm like, should I even bother? It's not that bad, but it's not how I want it to be. And so I was just kind of trying to be like, should I even bother with this at all? And I thought about it, and I hung it up on the wall and everything, and I'm just like, do I really want to spend, I mean, I already spent like what, maybe an hour and a half tops doing the tracings, both of them combined, and I'm just like, but do I really want to spend like 5 more hours plus on a painting that I'm not going to be really happy with? And I'm always going to kind of be second guessing, like, maybe the composition is still kind of off. And so for that reason, I'm like, you know what, I'd rather be happy in the long run and just go ahead and do a whole retrace. So I reprimed the canvas that I didn't like, got a new canvas, which I didn't prime, and I should have learned my lesson. I still didn't prime it before I did the pre-sketch. And then I went on ahead and did another trace. I got the composition to how I liked it, and I started painting it, and I'm like, but I didn't prime my canvas. And I'm just kind of thinking like, I always like tell myself it's kind of an amateur move to not prime the canvas, so why am I going to go ahead and do that? And I always was debating myself the first time about taking a shortcut. I mean, no matter how long you've been doing art, I mean, you're still going to try and find shortcuts, I guess. Some way or another, you're going to be like, but can I make it a little bit easier if I do this? So in the long run, I'm like, you know what? I already said that, I consider, I don't want to sound like bougie about art, but there's certain things that I am particular about. I'm not particular about making my own canvas or like, you know, doing all of that stuff and guessing my own like canvas and all that stuff. But I am pretty particular about like making sure that I prime my canvas first and things like that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and do it, even though I already started the painting. So I went over it, this time very carefully so that I wouldn't remove the sketch. I didn't use a big wet brush or anything. I just went very lightly over it, the spots where I had the line. And really wanted to, like the biggest thing was I wanted to have a color, a base color, and I wanted to have the texture. If you don't, if you don't paint traditionally, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but give it a try. Give traditional painting a try, and maybe you will know what I'm talking about. I'm realizing now that maybe, hold on, maybe I'm making this guy too tall. Is he too big for this donkey? Or a horse that looks like a donkey? I know, I just spent the last 20 minutes probably just talking about my painting this week and how I tried to shortcut it. But then thought about shortcutting it, but didn't. Not sure what I want to do with this. Let's see. I think I'm going to make his head a little bit smaller. Let's see. First, this changes nose shape. And he feels a little bit thinner in the chest area, so maybe I can make his head a little bit smaller. I'm going to bring the canvas down too. This is kind of an awkward drawing. It's kind of an awkward painting. Even the original reference is a little bit awkward. The shapes are a little bit abstract. Hold on. Make the horse's head bigger. Let me see. I think that's good. I'm going to bring the whole thing down just a little bit. I'm going to bring it down to that line I drew. That feels right. Okay. The good thing about, and maybe that's part of what's, spoils me and other artists too, when we're looking for shortcuts. I think everybody looks for shortcuts though, or most people. Even if you don't end up taking it in the end, you still kind of wonder at least, how could I make this easier? It's like human nature, I think. But anyway, digital, right, allows us to do so many shortcuts that it's hard to not be used to it, or just like the ease of how things can be. Like I said, even if you don't end up using the shortcut, sometimes you just maybe will think about it like, maybe I could do it. Even if you don't. Alright, so enough about that. I wanted to think, speaking of the fact that today is election day, and I didn't really want to talk about politics because that's not what my miniature platform is about. I just don't want to go there. But I do want to talk about 2020. Because it just seems so unaligned. Just the fact that we are having election, just, I don't know, just like seems just like everything about this year has been just crazy. Or not crazy, but yeah, basically crazy. So I was just thinking along those lines, and I'm wondering if you guys have learned any good things about this year, or have there been any parts of this year where you feel like you've grown? Self growth, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing this year, but for me, hmm, I feel like I have, and I feel like I'm in the middle, actually, of growing, and not quite out to the other end, but I can feel myself making progress. If that makes sense. Move his head up a little bit long, so I can make his neck longer. I can just feel myself kind of making strides. Sometimes it's backwards, and then it's forwards, and it's kind of been like riding a horse, like just kind of up and down. It's a little bit up and down. You make some progress, you go up, and then it's just like, oh, I messed up a little bit there. It kind of feels like that. I don't know if you can relate. But one of the biggest, I think, blessings and things that I've learned about and am continuing is hard. It's hard for me as like a people pleaser. I'm a self-aware people pleaser. I don't even want to say self-proclaimed because I'm working on not being that anymore. But I'm a self-actualized or self. No, I don't want to say actualized either. That's not the right term because that means I made myself that way. And I guess I did, but I am, I guess, a recovering, I think, people pleaser and realized people pleaser. And I am changing that in myself. And one of the things that you have to learn about when you no longer wish to be a people pleasing agent is how to set boundaries. And I was actually watching another YouTube video, if I can remember, which I almost never do. I will put the link in the description. You won't see it probably in Facebook. Well, I'll try and remember if I can. Well, that will be a real trip if I can remember to do both. But I'm gonna try to remember, at least for the YouTube channel, to put the link because I was watching a video last night. And this is not the first I heard of it, but this was a really good um, explanation or like how to, I guess, in setting boundaries. I actually started beginning setting boundaries earlier this year with my um, therapist, and I think every adult should have a good therapist. Everybody needs a good therapist. But anyway, it was one of the things that I was working on. I just started a few months ago, just before COVID actually struck out. So like I want to say in late February. But anyway, I was watching a video last night. It was Iyanla Van Zandt. She's the lady who she became really famous doing Oprah show, like giving advice. And she's very good and she's qualified and everything. But it was really a good breakdown of like what setting boundaries looks like and what to expect from your friends or family when you are just starting to set boundaries for the first time and what that can feel like and the pushback that you will inevitably get, which is definitely a thing because when people are used to you being a people pleaser, they're gonna expect you to keep pleasing them, and it's a disservice to yourself when you are dishonest with yourself when you're pleasing other people. So you're kind of like betraying yourself in a way when you're just doing things just to please people or just not to upset. I think that's the bigger reason why we do things that other people want us to do is just not to upset them. And that is, you don't even realize it, but we are contributing or being a part of playing a role in manipulative behavior because we're allowing ourselves to be manipulated and we're also manipulating others by not being honest and trying to control how they feel about us, by trying to avoid confrontation or trying to basically just trying to be liked or loved. And it's not healthy for anybody. So what do you do? Well, one of the things is you can't really know when people have violated you or how to set a boundary if you don't know what your values are. So what is of value to you? For me, one of the things that I'm realizing right now is it's a value to me to be able to do this right here. Not just live streaming, but just to be able to spend the day during these hours of the day working on my art. Whether that's in YouTube, whether I'm working on comic, whether I'm painting, whether I'm doing figure drawing or I'm at the zoo drawing. There's just a certain amount of hours in the day that I just want to devote to my art. And I don't like it when I'm interrupted by that for other people's, I guess, their whatever it is that they want to get accomplished in those hours of the day. Like for me, my time is typically between, I want to say between 12 and 6. 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. is really my time to do that in the morning. I do my spiritual time, I do my workout, and I don't want to be bothered in that time either, but I say anytime after 6 I'm free. But yeah, I think it's important for me to realize that for myself, that I don't want to be interrupted during the hours or asked to do things in the hours that I've already devoted to other things that are really important for me and for my well-being, for, I guess, my vitality and just feeling like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing or what I feel is important for me to accomplish. And maybe that could be a thing for you, like what is it that's important for you to accomplish? And it doesn't, and that's the thing too, like there's going to be times where you want to take a break. There's going to be some days where you're going to be less strict on whatever your schedule is. But I think the main point is that for the majority of the time, this is going to be what's standard for you. So if your standard is maybe on Sundays, I don't wake up until noon, that's not me, but if that's your thing, then, maybe it's not every Sunday, but 3 out of 4 Sundays, you don't want to be bothered before noon. Or maybe every Sunday you don't want to be bothered before noon. And maybe every once in a while you wake up early, and that's okay. So say, you tell everybody, don't bother me before noon on Sundays, and, you wake up at noon on Sundays, and then maybe one Sunday you wake up at 10. And so the next Sunday someone comes in at 10:30 and says, hey, can you do this for me? You say, no, remember I told you that I don't want to be bothered before 12 on Sundays because that's my day to sleep. And they might, come back at you, well, last week you were up, and you say, that's okay, that was what I did for 1 week, but this is what my set ritual is, And that's the thing, people try to find little things sometimes, especially when they're used to, if it's a new thing for you, if you're just starting to learn your limitations, it's hard. And I'm definitely not an expert at it. I'm learning it, and that's why I'm trying, I guess, to reiterate it so that I can understand it even better. Because it's not an easy thing to do. I'm gonna try and get the shape of this before I put the leaves in. I don't even think it goes up. No, it doesn't quite go up that high. It goes up about here. So let me move this down a little bit. trying to keep the same composition that she has. So might have to adjust things. We're still on just the sketch process part of it. So bear with me. Still trying to figure it out. This one goes. I don't know why, but for some reason this particular painting is really reminding me of World of Warcraft. There's this one area, it's like right outside of the Alliance territory, which I never really played Alliance, but this is one area right outside of the Alliance territory. There's all these ghosts and stuff, and it reminds me so much of this. This is some random information. And I think this goes a little bit. Actually, it does go quite a bit. Oh, what did I do? It goes actually all the way over by the donkey. I keep saying donkey, but I don't know if it's a horse or a donkey. I'm not sure. Okay, so this one comes out. Trying to now problem solve. Let's see where these things are coming out from. There's like this thorny branch at the bottom. It's a little bit complicated, or complex, I should say. More than complicated. I'm just trying to figure it out now, how it goes. Yeah, complex is probably a better word. Alright. But, getting back on the subject, are there things that you're working on? I mean, maybe it's not boundaries, or maybe you never even heard about setting boundaries before. Maybe people cross your boundaries all the time and you wonder why you're pissed off at your family every day. Oh, God. It took me a lot of years, I'll say that, to even realize I didn't have boundaries. And I'm practicing. I'm a long ways from being an expert, but I'm practicing and I'm proud of that. If you ever wonder, like, how come no one takes me seriously, then you probably have boundary issues. Because it's pretty much never that people aren't taking you seriously. It's that you aren't taking yourself seriously, or you don't think that you're worthy of taking yourself seriously. And sometimes you just need to realize that and then make that change and say, hey, what I'm doing is important, or how I feel is important, because it is. It's a big part of your happiness is being able to set boundaries. If you're feeling like, people are always walking over you or something like that, it's not even like it's your fault or their fault. It's just the fact that maybe you just haven't realized yet that you're not expressing how you want to be treated. And sometimes it just takes a moment to notice that, because it's like dealing with feelings and things like that, and dealing with how to be treated by others. It's not something that we're taught in school. We're not told how to set boundaries in school. More than anything, we're probably taught how to not have boundaries, because people say, oh, you have to share, or you have to take turns, you have to do something that benefits everyone. And once you realize, hey, no, you don't, you could choose to share, but if it's something that, if someone wants to use your Cintiq and you don't lend it out, you don't feel comfortable lending it out, and that's a boundary for you, and you say no. And that is setting boundaries. say, no, I don't lend out very expensive equipment or whatever the case may be. Or it could be your probably more relatable. Maybe it's your Copic markers. Sorry, I said it wrong. Maybe it's your Copic markers. Maybe someone that you lent stuff to before, they didn't necessarily give it back. They want to borrow something like your Copic set, and you're like, I'll pass. It's okay. You can say no. It's okay to say no to people. But it's also okay for them to say no to you, and that's part of learning boundaries too, is being able to not only give a no, but give a no, and also not trying to control anybody's answers. Like, I'll say yes to them so that they can say yes to me, because guess what? Even if you do say yes, they can still say no, and vice versa. So just doing what you're comfortable with and being able to express that, I think, is really important part of self-actualization or self-realization. We're having a very spiritual talk today, aren't we? Feels like it, or like I don't know what you would call it. Meaningful, I think, would be a better word. Conversation. A meaningful topic. Okay. I think we're pretty good with the original sketch. I'm going to add some more things, but not very much. I'm going to try and figure out where this gate goes. There's like a fence here. If you remember that area in World of Warcraft that looks just like this, please let me know, because it's killing me not knowing what the name of the town is. That looks just like this. Okay. There's another tree. So this goes over. There's another tree. It's like right here. It's like a Y-shaped tree. And there's another one that comes this way. And there's several trees in the back, but I won't get too caught up on that right now, because they're just like in the background. Just hang at them, I guess, for now. Probably just be hinting at them. Anyway, hopefully I'm not getting too low. Sometimes when I draw and I speak, I start talking very low. I'm trying to check that. Alright, I think we're good to go ahead and start painting. I'm gonna grab a nice yellowy color. Maybe a little bit more on the orange side. That's better. And try and get a nice paint. Let's see. I'm trying to pick a brush. Let's try this and see how it works. Is it just lagging, or is it? What happened here? Why did this come out? Alright. So let's keep going. It's just like a light layer of lighter paint. I don't know what medium she used, but in this one particularly, but I want to guess that it was gouache. She used a lot of gouache in her visual development stuff. Let's see. And a little bit of the darker. Still using the same colors, different tone. Now on a different tint. I might add a little bit of, there's like a reddish color too in here on the other side. I'll add that one too. It's like a more reddish. More. You can see there's like a lot of different colors inside of this. Sort of simplistic type of background. Alright, let's see. And the earth, I think. I'm trying to figure out if I should put that on a separate layer. I don't know. Use a nice orangey red. That looks about right. Maybe it's a different brush though. I think I want to make it like a trying to find the right brush right now. I kind of like that one. I'm going to make it a little bigger though. Yeah, I like this. I'm still drawing or painting now underneath that initial sketch. So I still want to be able to see it for until I get into the real details. I want to be able to see where everything is going to be going because I'm going to be changing the colors a lot. I just want to be able to get in there. So I'm going to paint this whole area just red orange, and then I'll go over the spots that are different colors after that on the same layer, because I'm all doing just the road right now. Keep my road on the same layer, and we'll see what we come up with. I'll erase some of this stuff. Doesn't need to be there. All these parts where it kind of went out of the line, I'm going to just erase that. I don't need to be there. But let's see. And if you are watching this from Facebook, feel free to share this with your friends that are interested in drawing or in a group. I will be sharing this into some of the groups that I'm in after I finish. Alright, and there's a really dark, almost black color. Not quite, but almost. On the road. I don't know if I want to use this same brush though. This is alright, I suppose. I suppose this will do. I don't know though. It's coloring a little bit weird. I'll find something else. Just want a nice. Let's see what this looks like. Well, that's interesting. I don't know if that's what I want though. Probably doesn't even matter. It matters to me though. Alright. I guess this will work. It's not quite as textured though. I'm not sure if I like. I'm not quite sure. I want to get obsessed with like the unimportant things though. It's not that important. Is that the one I used before? I don't know, maybe I'll use that one again. This is so rough. I think I'm gonna keep the one I was using. I never make up my mind in every aspect of life. I'm not a good decision maker. I'm a very wishy-washy decision maker. I'll say. I'll change my mind and then change it again. Many times before I reach a final decision. Many times. But you know what? You gotta change your mind as many times as you think you need to. It's okay to change your mind, especially if you're a woman, I'll say. Because we're indecisive creatures. I think. Are we? Alright. So I'm gonna add some of these like little shadows, I guess, around the hill. And it's also like this area in the back. It's also this color. So I'll do that. Ooh, I like these colors together. They're kind of nice. Very spooky. This would be my belated Halloween gift to you. If you care for a belated Halloween gift, that is. Alright, and now I'm going to do the road, which I think I'll do back with that textured brush. This one, it's a gray color. I think I'll use this. I'm not worried about it being perfect because I can see like the red underneath in the original. I want to kind of recreate that a little bit without letting it be too sloppy or anything like that. Just want to kind of hint at it without going overboard. Do more than one color, or more than one hue, I should say. Ooh, I don't like that. I'm going to change my brush this time, and I want to get another canvas type brush. Canvasy brush, something like that. Ooh, that's nice. That's more like it. It's a very grainy brush. But that's what I want to get on this road. It's like that. It's like there's like a grainy feel happening. Like this. Okay. And it's a light gray, but it's still in the red area, so it's almost like a pink. Very desaturated pink. I like that. Desaturated pink. Making a little bit darker on the ends. How the original has it. And let's see. Our next step, I'm going to actually add a layer on this. Make it a clipping mask, so I'm going to use the orange color. I'm going to lighten it up a lot. I'm going to try and create this. Highlight over the road. How you would do this in traditional medium. This is a part where you just paint over your drawing, or you wouldn't even have the characters on the front. If you're just kind of going kind of with the flow, you wouldn't even have the characters on the board yet. If I did have the characters, then I would just be painting right over them for now, and then get back to them later. Go back to this. Kind of accentuate the shape of the hill a little bit better. So now I'm back on the under layer. darken that out a little bit. Got a text or got a phone call, which I will have to return. Okay, let me write a message real quick. Sorry. Okay, so now to the next part. Let me turn my sketch back on. Oh, it scared me a second. I'm like, what's taking it so long to show? Okay, let's see. Make sure that. Alright, I want to do the trees next. But with the trees, I want to go over the original sketch because I want to kind of get them a little bit more accurate. Let's see. First, actually, I'll do the background trees, which are like a mossy gray green blue color. Let's see if I can get that color. That's about right. First, it's just like foliage. It's a little bit darker. A little bit less saturated. Slightly lighter. That's a trying to find a color. Let's see. That feels about right. It might be a little bit lighter in some areas, but I think for the most part this is. And you see, it's also like I just noticed it too. She's using the complementary too. Even though it's a blue green, it's still like a green. It's still in the green family, and she did smart too. She did a blue green and then like the red orange. So the green and the red are complementary, and the orange and the blue are complementary. So it's double complementary. She's always very slyly incorporating complementary colors, double complementary colors. You don't even notice them because they're so subtle. Like she won't use like a pure saturated color. I mean, I don't know. I geek out over this kind of stuff when I find like hidden complementaries. But it's in there, and that's so cool. Like she has a double complementary going on, and I didn't even notice at all until just now. So she's got blues and orange and red and green, and she combined them. She's blue green with red orange. That's really cool. How didn't I notice before? And I'm going to get a different brush to do the branches. So I'm going to use a rough drawing brush. It's thin enough. Just like a very basic kind of sketchy brush because it is really loose. It's just like, I don't know, I geek out over those things, finding the double complementaries. Some of these branches are a little bit darker, but I'm just going to make them like this for now. Characters are pretty much going to be always last in your painting, because even though they're the most important part, they're always like the icing on the cake. I mean, you can do a really good character, but if and you put them on a crappy background, like everybody's gonna notice the character, but the painting itself is not really gonna stand out. But if you have a really cool looking background first, I mean, in traditional painting anyway, you're gonna be painting from back to front always. Um, so you kind of have to focus on that background first, but it just makes it so much nicer. It makes your whole piece so much nicer if you just spend some time getting the background right. And what she's doing here, just focusing on putting in, incorporating those complementary colors. She's really good at color theory. I think that's what made a lot of her work stand out. Like I said, even hidden complementary colors, like you don't even realize right away, but it's in there. It's very cool. It's very cool, I think. If you're into art, how art works, it's very cool. Alright, so what else have you learned during 2020? I'm so glad this year is almost over. I can't wait for 2021. But my mindfulness, which is also something I've been practicing this year, I started doing mindfulness, gosh, 5 years ago. Yeah, about 5 years ago, I started, which it takes forever to really get good at it. I'm still very much a student. I definitely have strayed from it a bit, but came back to it, and I'm just trying my best to be as mindful as possible. What does that look like? Um, Being happy for, even though it is 2020, and there was a lot of challenges this year. It was definitely a challenging year for me. I'm sure it was challenging year for most of you. Some people, though, have had it easier than others this year. But yeah, this year was hard. So, but I'm still trying to make the most of it. There are some good things that happened. Doing some self growth, that's a good thing. Learning how to set some new boundaries, that's a good thing. What else? Started learning new language this year. I'm still very, very, very new at it, but I'm learning actually how to speak Swahili. Actually, this is like my first year actively pursuing it, but I've been like kind of doing a little bit of research on it, or just a little bit of, not research, but I would say investigation into it, because over the last since I've been working on my comic, and it's split between English and Swahili, and just learning how to translate and all that stuff really helped me to just get introduced to the language. But now that I'm actually trying to learn it, um, it's been pretty cool. I could say hello, Jumbo. How are you? Abarigani. I don't want to say it wrong, especially now that I'm in the spotlight. I was like, oh, Habarigani. I didn't say it right. Habarigani. He's like, how are you? And what else can I say? Um, I could say a lot of things, but I feel like funny trying to think of something to say right now. Let me see. I'll try to think of something now. What did I learn how to say? I look horrible right now. I promise I've been trying to learn it. I haven't practiced it in like 2 weeks. That's the thing. I'll try and think of something. But anyway, keep going. I'll keep going. Is there anything that you guys have tried to learn this year? Even these trees are a little bit on the green tint. Some of them green and gray. Very desaturated green. But the complementary is still there. Alright. Yeah, that's about right. I'll perfect, of course, but it's about right. That's what we're looking for. Let's see. Trying to think, what other ways have I been working on some self-growth this year? I don't know. I don't know if did I grow any more than that? I hope so. Oh, one thing, I was thinking about changing my profession. I don't know. I have sort of I think, right, this year we just questioned everything. It made me question everything, including my career, including my art and everything like that. And I was actually debating for a little while whether I should um, take up a new venture. And I was thinking very heavily on doing real estate. Um, it was interesting. I started studying it, and I don't know. You might think I sound crazy, but I felt like God was kind of telling me, nah, that's not what I need you for. I was kind of hearing different things, and I just had this feeling of, no, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Don't get sidetracked. Um, don't shift your energy, because like all the energy that you can put into learning something new, you can put that energy right back into your art and be 10 times better. But you have to be willing to do it and patient, and just know that what you're doing is adding up. Like each video you're posting is adding up, each figure drawing you're doing is adding up, each time you're working on your comic, that's adding up to something. I don't know what yet, but it's adding up. So I'm just trying to have some faith in that. It's hard though, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, especially when you kind of like pounding the pavement, and like you don't see the results yet. It's kind of like if you've ever watched The Secret, and they're like that part where they're like the results aren't showing, and you're just kind of like, this stuff doesn't work. And I could probably quote that whole movie because I've seen it so many times. I need to watch it again, actually. It's so good. Um, but I felt that way, and I feel that way sometimes, and I just kind of like, I don't think I feel that way right now, but I have definitely felt that way, especially this year, and just, how hard it was to get my graduate degree. It just was like such a pushback. I felt pretty worthless. And I don't know, it is definitely challenging, especially if you devote your life to art. And honestly, a lot of times, if you devote yourself to art, there's going to be times where you can't financially support yourself. I think any artist goes through that. And that feels very hard. So what do you do? Yeah, to keep going. Not saying that you shouldn't do something to try and earn money in the meantime, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do too. But don't don't lose sight of the ball, I guess would be what I'm trying to say. You don't change your whole career. You can get a job and whatever, but doesn't mean you gotta give up or quit, or change your career. I mean, maybe you would change your career if you feel like maybe this isn't your thing, or maybe this isn't what brings you peace or joy or any of that, and you just kind of like, bleh. But if it is really what does, give you life, which for me, I feel like sounds cheesy, but drawing does give me life. I feel pretty good about it. Doesn't mean it's not hard sometimes, or I don't feel like doing it sometimes, but it does really give me that, I don't know, how would you say, juice? That sounds cheesy, but kind of, kind of. I don't know. I mean, why would you want to do this if you don't love it? I know there's a lot of people though. I think there's a lot of people that want to do it but I don't know, maybe they just realized they want to do it, or maybe the idea of it, I don't know. I think there's like a middle ground. There's some people that have like been wanting to do it, but they keep avoiding it, or like they never push through. Like you gotta push through that period of time that's hard, that's like learning the skill. And maybe if it's really hard in the beginning, it might be a hobby for you. This might be something that you do for hobby. If it's something that you really like struggle to sit down and do, like um, it reminds me of how I feel about writing. Like I don't think I'm a true writer. I think I have some stories. I have some stories that I feel like I need to get out, and I want to, and when I do it, I feel good. But like, maybe that was the case with you. Maybe you had like one really good drawing, or maybe a couple of them that were in there that you wanted to get out. But maybe inside you're a writer. You could be the opposite of me. Um, but try and figure out what it is that you get energy from. You know. Like it's hard for me to write. I have to like kind of get myself in focus and get myself ready. But there's some, like I said, like the story that I just finished that I really felt like good about. But I don't feel that way in general about writing. So that could be the case with you. But for drawing, or maybe you just realize you like drawing. But it's the thing. I never really felt like I wasn't good at it. I never, even when I wasn't. I never felt like oh, I suck at this. I think you gotta kind of pump yourself up and just believe that you're good at it, even when you don't feel really good at it. Because there was never a time where I felt like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. I feel like discouraged when I see how much further along some people are, and that's when I say, okay, it's time to get off social media and stop comparing myself, or whatever the case is. There's definitely times when I feel discouraged from looking at other people's stuff, but I never feel like drawing is something that I can't do. It's always like I can't draw like that person, or I can't do this like that person, or I can't get the job that that person has. But it never felt like I can't like actually go draw. I don't know. It's kind of a weird to describe. Oops, what did I do? Delete this. But I can understand that there's been parts of drawing that have been frustrating for me. Like when I first started watercoloring, I was frustrated because like I knew I wasn't good at it. When I first started painting, it was kind of hard for me. Or some of the paintings that I did early on were difficult for me because I wasn't yet where I wanted to be in that. And that could also be a thing. Maybe you feel good and you feel empowered, but you're just not quite where you want to be yet. And I would say to you, if that's how you feel, not to give up. Just find a way to enjoy it. Find something that you enjoy drawing or painting. If that's what you're trying to get better at. Because that will push you through. Just doing something that you enjoy, drawing something that you enjoy will help you to push past all of the insecurities about how well you're doing. If you just enjoy what you're doing, it's a lot easier to not think about how well you're doing. And you shouldn't be self-analyzing while you're doing it. Just do it. Like try and do it without thought, even. Just not being conscious, but just allowing yourself to be in it. I think that helps. I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry already. I will try see to do my best at this. Still drawing trees. Still quite a few trees left to do. Quite a few. I didn't realize this painting was going to be so complex. Jeez. It's awfully discombobulated trees and all sorts of things. Try and figure this out. This kind of try and break down the shapes makes it easier too. Okay, I'm getting very hungry now. But I'll try and push it back. Maybe I can go grab a snack so that I'm not dying during this whole thing. Oh God, I don't know if I can make it. I need to get a snack. You guys snack while you're drawing? I love having snacks when I go to the zoo and stuff. Well, that's another thing. I'm going to be starting to volunteer at the zoo. That's another thing. That's another thing that I realized was in my alignment. Because I always loved, well, since I first was exposed to drawing at the zoo, I was like, oh, this is amazing, you know? But even since I very first started drawing, I've been drawing animals. So, and I've always been interested. Like, that was the other career path that I was first wanting to be before I even realized that art was something that you can be as a professional. I thought I would be a veterinarian. But once I realized I could be an artist and I wasn't really good with blood, I decided that I would be an artist. But I never lost my love of animals, and I never lost my desire to draw animals and to just be around them. And this summer, I got the experience to volunteer with a private zoo, which was really amazing. So it just kind of like reminded me too that like, oh, this is something I really like to do. This is something I'm really good at also. This is something that I want to devote more time to. And so I'm going to be volunteering at the zoo. I'm here in Georgia right now at in the Atlanta metropolitan area, and I'll be here for a few months at least. But I am going to be volunteering at the zoo Atlanta for a while, and I'm really excited. I'm going to start next Tuesday. It's my first day, so I'm looking forward to that. I just went to the zoo with my son this past Sunday, and this zoo is pretty neat because it's one of the few zoos here in the States that actually have pandas. I know it's not the biggest thing to get excited over, but if you're an animal nerd like myself, it's pretty exciting. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through, I'm going with my lasso right now and just filling in these spots, or filling in this tree, all of where I outlined already, just make it a little bit easier for myself. I'm gonna try and go in hand do all of that. It's not necessary. I already got the outline, so I'm just gonna fill that in. Okay. Oh, I had to throw away my hummus yesterday. I didn't realize that I hadn't been eating it, and now I really wish I had some fresh hummus. I would give. $10 if I could have some fresh hummus brought to me right now without having to move. That would be great. See what happens when you get hungry and start talking about stuff? Alright, so let me deselect. But it's starting to come together, this little painting. And I only have a couple more trees to do. Let's see. Maybe I'll just do them with the lasso. Maybe I'll just finish the rest of the trees with the lasso. Is that, just to see if that works. How about we do a little experiment with that? Like just using the lasso. I'm going to use the color of this tree right here. Fill in some of these gaps. Some of the gaps in here. And I'm going to go and lasso out this tree over here. And I'll create a clipping mask after I do these trees, just to create some of the, I guess, shadows and bark areas that are here that I want to fill in. Go through and Option Delete fills that in. And if I want to add any branch details, I can just do that with my brush after. I'm just going to do this first. Alright, I think I like that. And let's see. Alright. Okay. And now I'm going to use a brush and just add some of the extra details. Still looking at my reference. We didn't even start the characters yet, so you can just imagine, like, see. I was just watching Sleepy Hollow 2 a few weeks ago. That was fun. I hadn't seen that movie in a lot of years, so it was pretty fun to see that again. I think it was one of those networks we're doing like a Halloween, marathon type of deal. But Sleepy Hollow is a good one. I hadn't seen it in a minute, years. But I saw it with someone very special. My husband. So that was nice. Let's see. This one's kind of peeking through here. She's thinking about the composition, like in all these different spots. Pretty. She's like filling out the frame. Not cluttered, but just like making it interesting to look at, which is pretty fun. There's another tree branch over this way. Coming out this way. Alright, I think I'm gonna call it for the trees and just add some texture and such. Alright, let's see what we got for texture brushes. This one is kind of cool. Let's see. make it a quick mess. Come on. There we go. Let's see how this looks. That's too thick. Way too thick. I want to see if we can use a pastel brush. That'll work. Yeah, that's more like it. Feels about right. Just trying to make like some bit of texture over here. Maybe I'll use like a little bit of blue also. Just to make it, I like that. It's a little more interesting. It looks so cut out or flat once you add that. Like when if you're doing this, like yourself drawing it out, you don't have to make it exact. You can make the painting your own a little bit. Whenever you're doing doing a study painting, you can always kind of make it your own. There's a little bit of blue also. All right, and use this color. Make it a little bit darker. Make it a little bit less saturated actually. All right. Same with these, a little bit darker, a little bit less saturated. Just going over the top. A bit darker. Paint over that spot. Alrighty, I think that's about all we need for this here. Just about. I'm going to go ahead and add the sun. Just going to put that on the same. Just going to draw the sun, I think. Too big. I'm not going to use the ellipse tool. I'm just going to draw it. It feels a little bit more. So I don't want a perfect circle. I want like a, just like a basic circle. Let me see. I think that looks about right. Okay. Looking pretty good. I don't like that. These are awkward looking. That I didn't draw through this. So, oops. Kind of even though it's not showing, just for the integrity of my artwork, I want to kind of complete these a little bit so they don't look so awkward. Like I said, even though it's not showing, I just kind of want to complete the trees. I just don't like how that looks. Alright, that's about it. Save it. And I do need to put the clouds, so I'll go ahead and do that. They're weird. They're like kind of a green looking, toxic kind of green, grayish green. I'm gonna do the same thing I did for the cloud, just kind of, for the sun, I'm just gonna draw them in. I do really awkward shaped clouds too. I just realized me and Mary Blair have something in common, but mine are not shaped like this. But I do kind of, I do awkward looking clouds. I kind of just, for my cloud, it's usually just like that's usually what my cloud looks like. That's exactly my cloud. Alright, I'm gonna take that out. And let's make, there's one more cloud. Kind of a funky looking one over here. Option delete. Alright, perfect. And I'm gonna add a little bit of texture on those clouds. Kind of like what we're doing with everything else. Adding a little texture. Alright. A bit of darkness also. Never hurt nobody. Alright, so I'm gonna save that. And oh, I didn't do the tree in front. My bad. I missed a tree. I missed this little funny tree way in front. Okay, let's see. Oops, wrong layer. So I'm just gonna go and try and fill in the shapes of this guy without obsessing over it. Just try and something along the lines of what I'm looking for. It's just like a weed almost. It's not like a real tree down here. It's just sort of like an awkward weed bush. And I hope that you feel free to go ahead and draw along with me on this video or any of my other videos. You can just follow along the steps that I'm taking, and I know it might be like a copy of a copy, but we're learning together. And that is the whole purpose of learning. Not to create copies, but to just learn from wherever you can. I know for me, like whenever it just helps me to go along, to follow along. It helps me to understand what's happening better. use a gray color to do these sort of gray. She has like these other section a little bit lighter, almost like a white gray on top. Just kind of adding to, like, I guess they're like dead branches or whatever. They look pretty cool though. They look quite interesting. They're reminding me of Sweeney Todd. Have you guys seen Sweeney Todd? Such a good movie. But it made me think of the actor Sacha Baron Cohen. And if you guys haven't seen Borat 2, I would highly recommend it. Love his stuff. Alright. Now we're just gonna go and do our character. I think, you know what? We're gonna start this guy with just doing the outline. He's so just kind of. I wonder if I should just do the shape of him, because he's so geometric that I just almost feel like I should just fill him in like this. And I think I'll do his donkey on another layer, but I don't like this idea. Just because my guy is so geometric. And I'm just going over the line that I already drew with my lasso. It's hot pink. This complexion is literally like hot pink. Oh no. There we go. And this is the part where I'm going to be a little bit more quieter than the rest of the video, just because I gotta focus a little bit. I'm just doing the dude. I'm not yet worrying about his donkey, horse, whatever it is. Just the guy. Just my rider. And I will go back over this so I can change his color, but make sure that lines up his, and voila, that was easier. No, I was just talking about shortcuts a little while ago, but honestly, I'm not trying to get a shortcut. I'm just trying to make it like, trying to simplify. Is that shortcut? Is that the same thing? Maybe, but not really. I don't think so. Alright, I don't know. I've never done this before. Can I do that? Oh, I can. That's pretty cool. I don't want it to be pitch black though, so I want it to be like a deep brown. What I did, since it is on a clipping mask, just in case you weren't following, I did the lasso of the whole guy's body on its own layer, and I created a clipping mask. So I made a new layer, and I held Option, and when you hold Option, let me see if I release clipping mask. Hold Option, and I go right on the line. It would give me this little arrow. If you guys look, you can see it's like a little arrow with a box, and that creates a clipping mask. Clipping mask is when you're on a layer. A clipping mask is a layer that only paints directly over the places that were painted below it. Hopefully that makes sense. The clipping mask is a layer that only paints directly over the layer that it's clipped to. So I'm picking a dark brown color, option delete. Option delete is fill, and it's going to fill in the foreground color, and that's what I just did right now. And now I'm going to fill in. I didn't know if the clipping mask would work even though I lassoed a big section, and it does, which is awesome. So just learned that today. And so I'm just going to go through with his hair because he's such a, like I said, he's such a geometric. This is actually a lot like the characters they're using now on all of those networks. You think it's all original, but it's not. It's history repeating itself. So there's that. And going to get that nice gray color that's on his lapel or whatever that's called. He actually has a bit more of a belly than I gave him, so I can go back and fix that. And he has this sock, or stocking I guess they would call it, that comes up like that. Awesome. And so now I think I'm gonna merge this clipping layer, merge down, and now I'm gonna draw over it, over the paint. So I'm gonna make that little back ponytail. Very simple little ponytail that comes just like that. It reminds me of like what do they call those guys? The Yankees or Yankee Doodle? Yeah, it reminds me of like a Yankee Doodle type of guy. Was Ichabod Crane supposed to be like in America or in the UK? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. If you guys know, let me know, because I don't. And I'm gonna get black for his eye. For his actual pupil, go ahead and use black. And it's not a very attractive man, but who's judging? Kind of a very average looking Joe, I guess. It's got like wrinkles and stuff, but oh well. And I'm gonna draw his fingers, his hand, this incredibly large, awkward hand, but okay. Make his lapel come up a little bit higher, because I see I got some pink over there, and I don't want that showing, and give him this little button he has. Now it's just like little details. The little details that matter. And let's see. Got a pop-up. I think I'm still recording, hopefully. I got a weird pop-up. Okay. There was some type of an error, but it still says I'm live. So I'm gonna assume I'm still live. And I'm gonna keep going on this. Let's see. Where did my reference go? There it is. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the pony donkey now. Whatever it is. And let's see. I'm gonna make a new layer under the same thing. I'm gonna make a layer underneath the Yankee Doodle / Ichabod. How old is the story of Ichabod Crane? I have no idea. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of wing it a little bit. Now I'm just following the reference, but if you're following along, you can just wait until I finish with the lasso and then go ahead and follow suit off of my drawing. Because like I said, I'm not showing displaying references anymore for like more than a hot second, because YouTube don't play that apparently. And I'm not gonna play it either. I'm like, alright, if that's not how it goes, then I am not trying to mess with y'all. I like having my little channel. I don't want it to get deleted for some boo-boo. Alright. And I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna have to probably move that branch, because the branch is definitely supposed to be behind the donkey. I mean in front of the donkey. So I love the shape though of this donkey though. He's kind of like, he's not realistic at all, which I love. I don't know if I told you guys this, but my favorite art is folk art, and I just love like cool little original, less obvious shapes for things. It just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. I don't know why, I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. He's a reddish, brownish, grayish color. That's perfect. And now I'm just going to fill in some of his details. You know, I don't even think I need to make a clipping mask. I can just leave the lasso and just fill in. That's another way to do it. Instead of creating clipping masks, just keep the lasso on and it will just fill in within that space. And he has like this reddish coat over him in some spots. Yeah, just like that. I guess it's the reflection or something of the dirt, or I don't know what, but he has this kind of a reddish hue going on. And I'm just going to kind of lightly scatter that about and blend it in with a similar color to him. Alright. I also want to do like a little bit of a darker one. Just kind of adding a little bit of variance, which I think she does very subtly, just to give a little bit of dimension to her characters. After this, I'm definitely going to need some sort of a lunch or something. Something. Tan is pretty dark, even darker. And here, over here. Now it's just, like I said, just doing some simple detail stuff. Color that ear back in. And the other ear is, that's right here. So I'm going to deselect it so I can make his ear a little bit bigger than that. I think I can turn off the sketch at this point. Don't think we need it anymore. I gotta remember that I'm not on the clipping mask, so I gotta be a little bit careful not to go over my boundaries too much. I don't know, I was talking about boundaries today. Oops. part is very true. I just want to kind of, even though there's not too much line in hers, I just want to add a little bit because it's not traditional medium. I just want to hint at a little bit of line in some parts. Even though what I could do is just use a little bit of a darker, just slightly darker for the edges. Which is looking like more like what she did, just using darker colors for the edges. Which I shall try to incorporate. We're almost done now, guys. Seems to be about 2 hours each time, which works out pretty well. And I'm going to do his hoofs and feet area. It's a little bit darker right above the hoof, so I'm going to do that before I do the hoof color. I'm going to definitely have to move that tree and make it on the very, very top layer. Looks like his hooves are the same color as his hair. I really like this painting. It's quite nice. My last illustration teacher used to say that a lot. Quite nice. Quite pleasant. Quite this or quite that. But just details, almost done. I hope you guys remember to vote today if you're in the US. And if you're not in the US, vote whenever you have your elections in your city or town. And let's see. Reading. If I learned anything in the last couple of years, man, reading is fundamental. Whether it's an audio book, documentary even. I think like getting the knowledge one way or another. That's why I think even documentaries, because if you're getting some new knowledge, if you're learning something that you didn't know before, learning. It's all about the learning, man. There's so much information out there that we don't know about. Learn something. That's what I'm trying to do with some of my extra time, man. It's just take a little bit of that extra time and devote it to learning something. Your life will be so much more, I don't know, like, this is the most cliche thing of all time, but learning is powerful. Knowledge is power, and that is the most cliche thing, but the most true thing ever, because people can talk you into anything if you don't know. Just if you don't know, period. People can really talk you into just about anything, because there's so many people that can speak conviction about like some nonsense. There's so many people that can like really have the conviction but not have the facts. So get some facts today. Get some facts. Try and make it your goal to learn something new from 2020, even though there's a lot of laws and a lot of sad things. At least hopefully learn something about yourself, about the planet, about life. Try and learn something. It can really change you. gonna move this tree. Just gonna lasso it. Edit, cut, and make a new layer on the very, very top. And edit, paste, special, paste in place, and save. Command S. Give it a little bit of airbrushing, I guess. Just a little bit on the tippy top right there. Use this darker color. Kind of airbrush it just a little bit into the ground. Oh, this is awesome. I love this painting. It's fun. It's really like, oh, look at him floating. But this was a fun one. I really did like this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. I will be here a few times this week because I do want to get some of these out. I was gone for a bit. Sorry for the lack of the heads up, but you know I am. Free-spirited, but like sometimes too much so. So I'm trying, man. I'm trying to be a little bit more, I guess, open with my schedule, even though I you know, it might not feel like a lot, but 300 people listening for me is, it's not a small number. So I thank each and every one of you guys, 308 I think exactly, people that are subscribed to my channel, and I appreciate you guys really, because I was at 19 and I appreciated the 19, but man, I was stuck at 19 for a long time. So I'm glad for everybody who listens to me on my little soapbox. Oh man, so this is it, guys. This is Studying the Masters with Mary Blair. This is number 4. This has been so much fun. I really enjoyed this little painting. I really think it was a cool one. But I do I'm going to encourage you guys one more time to vote, and just want to thank you guys one more time for watching me. And I just want to ask, if you did get some value for this, to give it a like. Check out my Facebook page, check out my YouTube channel. I'm at Alicia Dianne Art on everything, so you guys can check me out. And thank you so much. Thank you for watching me. Until next time, be grateful, live balanced, and be yourself. I'm gonna fill in this one little part right here. This little bush. Composition is important. Remember that, Bob Ross. I don't know if Bob Ross ever said that, but he should. He should have. Alright guys. Thank you guys for watching me. I'm not in out.